But yes, going down the line here, we have the fingerboard, the neck, excuse me, which is of course attaches to the fingerboard. And yes, again, it looks like a neck, a long neck, of course, and it is in charge of allowing the left hand to sort of glide up and down the instrument. So, of course, this is a more advanced feature when usually by the seventh or eighth grade as an example, again, a sixth grader starting normally as a beginner here in North Texas on various instruments. But yes. We will do shifting, of course, up on the instrument, and you see just how I can keep my fingers in contact with the instrument as I keep the thumb in contact with the neck of the instrument and allow my fingers to glide up and down the fingerboard. But anyways, more advanced technique, and yes, of course, I mentioned the fingerboard, the black part of the instrument. You can see how the fingerboard, the kind of, let me get it at this angle here, just has the shape at the bottom here, sort of matching the top face of the instrument. And again, it is in charge of allowing higher pitches to be made manifest from your open strings. But yes, going on to the strings themselves. From highest to lowest pitch, we have the E string, the A string, the D string, and the G string. Yes, again, that is E, A, D, and finally G. Yes, and I see we have more participants from when I originally started. Welcome to you all, and thank you for joining. But yes, we are going over the parts of the instrument in case, excuse me, you might have missed that. And yes. Of course, you see the strings are kind of suspended. They are suspended indeed by this feature here we call the bridge. This sort of it looks like almost like a bleached wooden sort of thing, at least with the amount of light in this camera screen. And you see how it kind of looks like a bridge. It has like a curve like you would expect a bridge over a river or something like that. Well, maybe a shorter brook perhaps, but yes, more of the but yes. Bridges even these days have very, very slight curves to them. So that's why we call it a bridge, and it again is involved in the suspension of all four strings. And a thing to note, this part of the instrument, the bridge, can move quite a bit if you're not too careful. So if it gets a bump or just an unfortunate knock, it can fly off the face of the instrument, and you ought to, in that case, again, if you're unfamiliar with stringed instruments, go to your local instrument dealer or luthier to get it put back in place, because it can be just a bit of a challenge, because if that comes off, all these strings will lose their suspended tension that is held in place ultimately by this all this again suspension again that involves the tailpiece here going further down the instrument here. Yes, we see the ends of the strings and the strings. Let me zoom in, but you can see how they have like little ends or knobs. Metal knobs there again that are held in by a fine tuner here. This being a device that adjusts, just as the pegs adjust the pitch, they do so as well, but in a more subtle fashion. So here, let me demonstrate on the G string here. So of course, if I turn the fine tuner out or counterclockwise, it lowers the pitch, but as I turn that screw in, increases the pitch, and I'm going to, of course, put the G back where it ought to be. Yes, and this is G. But yes, and that goes for all the other strings. They operate in the same fashion. Yes, lefty loosey, lowering the pitch and loosening the string, which is always a safe thing to do if you're not sure where the pitch of a string ought to be. And then, of course, if you tighten or righty-tighty the fine tuner, it will increase its pitch. And again, there is risk of snapping your string, so again, be wary and careful when you might be wanting to experiment with what all this does. But yes, going further down the line here, I mentioned in passing the tailpiece of the instrument. Again, this is attached to, again, involved in the suspension of the strings, but is attached to another device called a button, and this button has like a fairly good amount of wood that attaches itself to the bottom of the instrument, and yes, and this tailpiece is ultimately hooked on with a Kevlar loop.